I asked my colleague to join me at a bar, only to realize my bank balance was insufficient. In desperation, I approached a handsome man in one of the booths. "Cover for me, and I'll transfer it back to you later." The man feigned indifference. "Miss, do we know each other?" I snatched the glass from his hand. "No, we don't. But, ask your bodyguard, how many times have you bothered me already? A little help in dire times, and you can't return the favor once?" The man looked puzzled, but his bodyguard quickly raised a hand to cover his face. "Sir, it's true. Every time you get drunk, you won't let anyone near you, except for this lady. I've called her several times to help get you home. She was genuinely our last resort." 01 The friends seated around Ethan perked up, all ears. "Wait, seriously? Ethan turns into a fortress when he's drunk. How could anyone be the exception?" I remember the time Ethan got wasted, and I tried to help him to his room. He snapped my arm in an instant. "Same here. Everyone says Ethan turns into a full-blown demon when he's drunk. Anyone who approaches him ends up regretting it. But back when I was young and reckless, I thought it'd be fun to get him drunk, just to see if I could handle him. Result? Full body fractures and 2 months in the hospital. The doctor said it's some sort of extreme self-defense mechanism. He doesn't trust anyone when he's drunk, so he instinctively lashes out at anyone who gets too close. What's so special about this woman that she's the first person he trusts in that state? I don't believe it unless she proves it to us." I raised an eyebrow and pulled out my phone. "Sure, but first, transfer 50 to me, and I'll show you." To my surprise, someone actually took out their phone and transferred 50 to me. The familiar ding of a payment notification confirmed the transaction. I pointed to the cashier. "Let me settle my bill first. Once you get him drunk, come find me." The entire booth erupted into playful jeers and challenges. The only one who remained silent was Ethan, who was now squinting at me with a dangerous glint in his eyes. I wasn't intimidated. I'd seen all his drunk antics before. I even had several pictures of him hugging a toilet in my phone. Oh, don't let his current image fool you, sitting there, suave and elegant, like a picture of sophistication. In my eyes, he'd already lost all semblance of dignity. After settling my bill at the counter, my colleagues and I parted ways. While they headed home, I turned back toward the booth. After all, I'd taken 50. I owed them a performance. Ethan's friends were, as expected, trying every trick in the book to get him to drink. But Ethan wasn't having it. Instead, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me out of the booth, leading me straight to his luxury Maybach. The slam of the car door echoed loudly, like a soda bottle finally popping open after being shaken. I rubbed my nose, exasperated. "It's not like I told you to only trust me when you're drunk. It's a hassle for me too, okay?" 02 This all started 6 months ago. One night, after working late, I saw a man sprawled out on the street, using a shared bike as a blanket. It was hilarious. As a die-hard social media girl, I had to take a video. But as I got closer, I realized, wow, that face. He was ridiculously handsome, though clearly drunk out of his mind, reeking of alcohol. He kept mumbling about being thirsty. I pulled out my own water bottle and poured him a cup. To my surprise, he obediently drank 3 big gulps. I tried to rouse him. "Hey, don't sleep in the middle of the street. Where's your phone? I'll call someone to pick you up." He ignored me completely, snoring peacefully. With no other choice, I dug through his pants pocket, marveling at his long, perfect legs. Seriously, this guy could have been a model. I finally found his phone, unlocked it with Face ID, and called the first contact on his list. It was a video call. I pointed the camera at his face to make sure they knew who I was talking about. Hey, the owner of this phone is passed out on the street. If you're his friend, come pick him up. The person on the other end didn't even ask for my location. Instead, they gasped in horror. Move 5 feet away from the young master immediately. I thought they were worried I'd take advantage of him and scoffed. Relax, I'm not into drunks. I'll send you my location. Just hurry up and get him. But the voice only grew more urgent. Don't ignore me unless you have a death wish. Stay away from him. What a weirdo. I hung up the call. Then I sat down beside the man to keep an eye on him. He ended up using my lap as a pillow, sleeping soundly under the moonlight. 10 minutes later, the person from the call arrived. When they saw the scene, they looked like they'd just seen a ghost. I quickly tried to explain. Look, I swear I didn't do anything to your friend. Before I could finish, the man shifted positions. Not only did he rest his head on my lap, but he also wrapped his arms around my waist like I was a pillow. I tried to pry him off, but his grip was ironclad. I tugged at his ear. Hey, wake up, your friend's here, let go of me and go home with them. He didn't respond, snoring like a log. I turned to his friend for help. Can you please do something? I can't get him off me. The man stood 5 meters away, refusing to come closer. Frustrated, I shouted, "Why are you just standing there?" He replied, "I don't want to die." I was speechless. What did he mean by that? He explained that he wasn't some drunkard's friend but rather his bodyguard. Later, the bodyguard drove the car over, parking it 5 meters away, and said, "Figure out a way to get Ethan into the car yourself." Are you kidding me? He's your boss, not mine. I was being nice by calling you, and now you're taking advantage of me? The bodyguard refused to help no matter what, standing at a safe distance with his arms crossed. Furious, I channeled all my anger into dragging the drunk man, venting my frustration on him like he was a dead weight. The bodyguard, perhaps worried that I might injure Ethan in the process, reluctantly stepped closer to help. But just as he approached, the seemingly unconscious man sprang to life. In one swift motion, Ethan pulled a Swiss Army knife from his belt, shielding me with one arm while lunging toward the bodyguard with alarming speed and precision. The ferocity of his actions was terrifying. If the bodyguard hadn't dodged quickly, this might have turned into a crime scene. I stood there, stunned, my mind racing with questions. The bodyguard retreated back to his 5-meter safe zone, flashing me an awkward smile. "Now you understand why I didn't want to help," he said. "When Ethan gets drunk, no one can get near him. He becomes extremely aggressive." Instinctively, I touched my neck. Shouldn't I be running away too? But instead, the drunk Ethan calmly tucked the knife back into his belt, rested his head on my shoulder, and went back to sleep. I was at a loss for words. The bodyguard seemed equally puzzled. "You're the only person I've ever seen who can get this close to Ethan when he's drunk. Are you blind?" "He's the one leaning on me on the verge of tears," I asked. "What now?" The bodyguard said, "Looks like you'll have to help get Ethan into the car and drive him home." "Can you drive?" "Sort of," I replied skeptically. "But are you two messing with me? Why am I the only one who can get near him? What about his parents?" The bodyguard explained, "Ethan's parents passed away years ago. He only has his grandfather left, but even he can't approach Ethan when he's drunk." Well, this was just unbelievable. Summoning every ounce of strength I had, I managed to get the 6 feet 1 inch man into the car and then drove him home. Later, the bodyguard added me on WhatsApp, saying I might come in handy again someday. "Don't even think about it," I snapped. The next moment, he transferred 5,000 to my account. Instantly, I beamed. "Oh, no problem at all, call me anytime, really. Don't hesitate. But let's keep the rate the same, okay?" A couple of weeks later, one evening, the bodyguard suddenly sent me 5,000 again along with a message. "Miss Lily, I need your help urgently. I've sent you the location." Following the pin, I arrived at the most luxurious club in the city. Pushing open the private room's door, I found several high-profile figures people I'd only seen on TV sprawled unconscious across the floor. Soon, ambulances arrived, carrying them all to the hospital. When the room was finally empty, the only one left was Ethan, clutching a Swiss Army knife, leaning against the corner wall, drunk yet keenly alert to his surroundings. To be honest, seeing his bloodshot eyes and the kill anything that moves aura, I didn't dare get close either. My legs trembled as I quickly refunded the money back to the bodyguard. "Nope. I'm not taking this job." The bodyguard immediately sent me 50,000 instead. "Got it. You need a higher rate, right?" "That wasn't what I meant. But it was 50,000, I'm just an ordinary working girl. How could I resist such temptation?" So, with a deep breath, I cautiously approached Ethan. Gently tapping his shoulder, I whispered, "Don't kill me. Put the knife down, okay?" To my surprise, he actually listened. Squinting at me through his drunken haze, he stared for a moment before putting the knife away. Then, without warning, he wobbled and collapsed straight into my arms. "Oh, come on," he was so heavy that I lost my balance, and together we tumbled to the floor. Thankfully, just before we hit the ground, he flipped us around, cushioning my fall with his own body. I landed squarely on top of him. Outside the car, the bodyguard was animatedly explaining something to Ethan, holding up his phone to show him a video. Curiosity got the better of me, so I cracked the car window slightly and overheard snippets of their conversation. "That's the situation, Ethan. I didn't mean to keep this from you," the bodyguard said. "I just haven't figured out yet what connection you might have with Miss Lily in the past. Why is it that even when you're completely out of it and your defenses are at their strongest, you instinctively trust her? I was planning to report to you once I had more information." Later, Ethan opened the car door and got in. I quickly pretended I hadn't been eavesdropping, burying my head in my phone. To be honest, over the past few months, I'd racked my brain at least 100 times trying to figure out if I'd ever crossed paths with Ethan before. And I still came up with nothing. He was the golden heir of New York, born into a wealthy family with a net worth in the millions. And me? I was just an ordinary working girl who moved to the big city after college, trying to make ends meet. The idea of us having any sort of life and death connection? That would be downright supernatural. Watching Ethan's brooding face, visibly annoyed, I had the sudden urge to escape. "Haha, Ethan, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now. Bye-bye. No need to see me out." As I tried to open the car door to leave, Ethan moved faster, grabbing my arm. "You're staying with me until this matter is resolved." "Why? Won't your girlfriend mind?" "I don't have." Ethan trailed off, then corrected himself. "She's overseas." "Oh, I get it. Moonlights abroad." Classic trope. A sudden thought struck me. Wait, do I look like her? Could it be that I remind you of your moonlight, and one time, while drunk, you mistook me for her? Is that why you're letting me stick around? That would make sense. I mean, what other reason could there be for us to cross paths? If that's the case, I'm relieved. Ethan's face darkened further. "Shut up. You don't look like her." Then he added, almost as an afterthought, "and she can't get close to me either." Excuse me? Are you saying even your moonlight can't approach you when you're drunk? Then what kind of moonlight is she? Clearly, your heart's not in it. Ethan's expression deteriorated even more, his face filled with disdain. Why do you talk so much? I waved it off. Can't help it. My mom ate too many pistachios when she was pregnant with me. Victor, the bodyguard in the driver's seat, burst out laughing at my words. But Ethan? Not even a hint of a smile. Instead, he turned to Victor and said, transfer money to her. Tell her to shut up. Ding. Victor sent me 10,000. Well, I immediately mimed, zipping my lips shut. After all, customer satisfaction is the cornerstone of being a professional worker. However, moving into his mansion? Absolutely not. When the car stopped in the mansion's driveway, I crossed my arms tightly. I don't do sleepovers. Not even for extra money. Us Gen Z girls have principles when it comes to earning a living. Ethan got out of the car and shot me a look of utter disdain. Don't flatter yourself. You'll stay in the guest room. As a maid. And from now on, you'll be in charge of taking care of me when I'm drunk. And just like that, I unwillingly moved into the CEO's mansion, into the guest room. I had no choice, it wasn't up for negotiation. Ethan, that domineering alcoholic, forced me to become his personal drunken caretaker. If it weren't for the daily 10,000 transfers, I'd have quit on the spot every day. I prayed fervently for moonlight to return from abroad. Then, maybe, I'd finally regain my freedom. After all, what woman could tolerate her man housing a maid as pretty as me? Rumors spread fast on the outside. People were saying Ethan had hidden a mistress in his golden cage, a girl he'd never pampered before. Every time he got drunk, he'd call her to pick him up. They made it sound like I was someone special to Ethan. God knows I was exhausted, working as a corporate slave by day and as a maid for a tyrannical CEO by night. Just as my resentment reached boiling point, moonlight finally returned from abroad. But when she hurried into the mansion and saw me lounging on the living room sofa, snacking on expensive imported fruit, her reaction was priceless. I sat there, legs crossed, waiting for her to give me the stink eye and kick me out. Instead, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Stumbling back several steps, she bumped straight into Ethan, who was walking over with his usual brooding expression. Her face turned pale as she stammered, Ethan, who is she? Ethan narrowed his eyes, looking down at her. What guilty conscience has you so rattled? And nothing. I just flew for over 10 hours. I might be jet-lagged. Ethan was silent for a moment before saying, Victor will take you home to rest. Why yeah, okay. And just like that, moonlight fled in a panic, completely crushing my expectations. At the door, she suddenly turned back as if remembering something. Ethan, Grandpa said we need to start planning our wedding now. We can't delay any longer. Ethan didn't respond, his tall frame blocking my view of her. I wanted nothing more than to lean around him, grab her by the shoulders, and shake her hard. Girl, get a grip, you're about to marry him. Use your main character energy and kick me out already. Ethan, however, grabbed the back of my shirt collar like I was a kitten, lifted me out the door, and shoved me into the car. I grumbled, what now? Where are we going? To a party. I have a social event tonight, and I'll probably be drinking. I was so done with babysitting him. Can't you drink less? Don't you know alcohol is bad for your health? Concerned about me? In your dreams, I'm concerned about myself. Can't you just get treatment for your problem or trust someone else for a change? Ethan tossed a catalog at me. Stop yammering. Pick one. I flipped through it. The catalog was filled with stunning evening gowns. The kind of dress only a movie star would wear on the red carpet. It was so stunning that I could almost feel my eyes sparkle and my mouth water. But with a snap, I closed the catalog. Oh, my capitalist boss, is this catalog even meant for a humble worker like me? Pick one. You'll wear it tonight. Got it. But can I pick two? What if someone spills red wine on me at the party? Actually, three would be the safest bet. Ethan shot me a disdainful look. Relax. No one would dare mess with my woman. Stingy correction, I'm just a maid serving drunkards. Ethan's words were absolute nonsense. He said no one would dare mess with me at the party, yet I ended up with a face full of red wine. Blame my big mouth. Whatever I say, it always comes true. But I'm no pushover. I grabbed that woman's hair and refused to let go. My life philosophy has always been, let go of personal decorum, embrace the joy of being shameless. Forget overthinking, when in doubt, go crazy. I didn't care about my image in front of these aristocratic big shots, nor did I have any intention of marrying into their elite circles. I'm just a worker, earning my paycheck. After being stuck by Ethan's side for 3 months, I was already a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Anyone who dared cross me? They were doomed. By the time Ethan arrived, I was already on top of that noble woman, yanking her hair with both hands. Of course, she had a firm grip on my hair too. I decided I'd shave my head tomorrow, no way I'd expose the same weakness twice. Afraid Ethan might scold me, I quickly toweled first. She poured red wine on my dress. You said no one could bully me. This is the first time I've worn such a beautiful dress, and I only had one. Ethan said, there are 2 more in the car. Really? Really? I'll take you to change. What if they're not as pretty as this one? I'll buy you everything in the catalog. Now that's more like it. My anger subsided. Tell her to let go first, then I'll release her. Ethan narrowed his eyes and warned the girl, let go. She burst into tears. Brother, I'm your sister. Wait, what? I was fighting Ethan's cousin? Oh no, I'm doomed. I immediately let go, jumped up, and hid behind Ethan. Peeking out from behind him, I gave him a pleading look. I surrender. Have mercy. Ethan ruffled my messy hair roughly. Just a worthless cousin. Don't worry. A cousin? And worthless? Oh, then it's fine. Who doesn't have a few annoying relatives? I straightened my back and puffed out my chest. She started it. I was just defending myself. Grabbing Ethan's arm, I tugged him along. Come on, let's go see the other 2 dresses you bought for me. If you dare lie to me, I'll let you embarrass yourself by drunkenly stripping in public, and I won't even bother dragging you home. But seriously, what's wrong with your cousin? Why did she pour wine on me for no reason? She even said I'm some nobody living in your house without a shred of dignity. I do have a title, why can't I live in your house? Ethan let me pull him along, listening to my chatter. He only responded with one question, what's your title? Your maid. Ethan. He withdrew his arm with a look of disdain and laughed softly. You seem oddly proud of that. Of course we working class folks earn our money honestly. We don't steal or cheat. Why should we feel inferior? Ethan chuckled, then escorted me to his luxurious Maybach, opening the trunk for me to see. Sure enough, there were 2 gorgeous evening gowns inside. My mood instantly brightened, and I beamed with joy. Wow, so you don't trust yourself either. You prepared backups even though you said no one would dare touch me. Ethan's face darkened. If you don't want the dresses, feel free to keep running your mouth. I wasn't about to let him off the hook so easily. Thinking of all the frustration I endured today, I rolled my eyes at him. You couldn't even protect me, and now you won't let me complain? As a boss, if you can't even protect your own employees, how can you expect anyone to work hard for you? Ethan finally reflected on his actions, his tone sincere and serious. All right, from now on, I'll protect you. I promise. I'd be a fool to believe Ethan's promises ever again. I had just changed into an even more stunning gown and was heading back to the ballroom when I got word that his grandfather wanted to see me. And, of course, Ethan wasn't around. He had been stopped outside the ballroom by someone and had no time to deal with me. I was ushered into a private lounge, where Ethan's cousin was already waiting. She wasted no time complaining to the old man. Grandfather, it's her, that shameless mistress who knows what kind of spell she's cast on my cousin. Cousin is supposed to marry Grace, but she's clinging to him and refusing to leave. I stormed up to her and slapped her hard across the face. Call me a mistress one more time, I dare you. The crisp sound of the slap left her stunned. You dare hit me? I'll kill you. Let's see who ends up dead. I've never lost a fight in my entire life. The old man's cane struck the ground with a resounding thud. Enough everyone, stop this nonsense. Emma, you leave first. Grandpa, out. Emma shot me a venomous glare. You just wait. I won't let you get away with this. Bring it on. A fortune teller once said I'm tough as nails. I rolled up my sleeves. Losing anything was fine, but not my dignity. That same fortune teller also said I'd face a major catastrophe in life, and if I didn't fight back, I'd end up scrubbing floors for a living. The old man motioned for me to sit. I didn't hold back, taking a seat directly across from him with confidence. I heard that when Ethan gets drunk, you're the only one who can approach him. That's right. He hired me specifically to look after him when he's drunk and bring him home. I'm not some mistress or anything. Do you know why my grandson behaves like that when he's drunk? What else could it be? PTSD, I imagine. And do you know what caused it? Come on, how would I know something like that? Old man, just get to the point. I'm all brains but no filter, so don't set your expectations too high. The old man began recounting his story. It went on for a full hour, and he still wasn't done. Victor, the bodyguard, burst in, looking flustered. Miss Lily, Ethan is getting drunk again and is frantically looking for you. I immediately stood up and bid the old man goodbye. But as I was leaving, I paused and said, I understand now. You're trying to tell me that Ethan suffered something incredibly tragic as a child. He was deceived by someone he trusted, which led to the death of his parents. It left him deeply scarred, unable to trust anyone again. But there was one girl who stood by his side during his darkest times, never betraying him, even risking her life to protect him. That girl is Grace, the one Ethan is about to marry. So, you want me to disappear before their wedding, don't you? Got it. Consider it done. As long as you help me leave, I promise tonight will be the last time I escort that drunkard Ethan home. After leaving the study, Victor looked at me with a constipated expression. Miss Lily, are you really leaving? Yup. 3 months of work, and I've made nearly 100 grand. That's enough to buy a house back home and adopt a dog. I'm done competing in the rat race of the big city. Don't tell Ethan about this. I don't want to be tied to his hip for the rest of my life, playing maid. Dealing with a drunk is bad enough, but on top of that, I have to endure his brainless cousin calling me a homewrecker. Who would put up with this? Besides, isn't his moonlight back in the country, about to marry him? Sticking around any longer would be inappropriate. Victor muttered, actually, Ethan doesn't like Grace. It's the old man forcing the marriage. Not my problem. I returned to the banquet hall and saw Ethan in the middle of a drinking contest. His friend spotted me and started teasing. So it's her, huh? The girl who can get close to Ethan when he's drunk. Let's see if it's true tonight. Let's get Ethan drunk. I walked over and sat next to Ethan, muttering under my breath, "Can't you drink a little less?" One of his friends chimed in, "No way. Do you know who Ethan's drinking against tonight? The top hypnotherapist in the country, Dr. Robert. Ethan wants Dr. Robert to hypnotize him and help him recall a blurry memory. When Ethan was a kid, something terrible happened to him, but his memory of it is hazy, and he's been avoiding it for years. Recently, for some reason, he's decided he wants to confront the nightmare. But none of the hypnotherapists he's tried could help. Dr. Robert is his last hope. But Dr. Robert said he'd only do it if Ethan could outdrink him." I rolled my eyes. "Let me guess, you all teamed up with Dr. Robert to set this up just to see if I'm the only one who can get near Ethan when he's drunk, right? Don't deny it. You all reek of scheming." The room erupted in laughter, and they all gave me thumbs ups. "Haha, so what if you guessed it? Last time, I sent you $500, and you still owe us a performance. Pay up, it's only fair." I threw my hands up in surrender. "Fine, whatever. I'm just a hard-working tractor. It's always the same pushing, pulling, and dragging with all my strength, just to get Ethan, the drunkard, home. The life of a worker is exhausting. Complaining won't help, it's just tears at this point." I raided the food section, stuffed myself, and came back. Within 5 meters of Ethan, not even a mosquito dared to venture. Everyone was watching me with eager eyes, waiting for me to perform my trick. "Who won?" I asked. Someone replied, "Dr. Robert is out cold, but Ethan barely managed to outdrink him. Still, he's completely wasted. Time for your show." "Fine. Let's settle this debt now." I walked over to Ethan without hesitation. He was slumped in a single armchair, pressing his temples with one hand. His face was flushed from drinking, and even his neck was red. I jabbed his forehead hard. "Get up. Time to go home." Dragging Ethan along like walking a dog, I pulled him by the arm and started moving. When Ethan wasn't too drunk, he behaved just like this, docile, letting me lead him around without resistance. The people around us all rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Am I seeing things, or is Ethan not drunk at all? He's definitely not drunk. When has a drunken Ethan ever been this obedient? No way, I need to test this out. Maybe I can get close to Ethan too. In the next moment, a blood-curdling scream erupted in the banquet hall. "Ah, Ethan, I'm sorry, don't kill me, Lily, save me." Some brave soul, refusing to believe the rumors, had approached Ethan to test his temper and ended up with a Swiss knife pressed against their neck. It was just a hair's breadth away from drawing blood. In a flash, I hugged the out-of-control Ethan tightly, gently patting his back while cautiously trying to calm the lion's mane. "Don't hurt anyone. Be good. Put the knife down. Ethan, if you don't put the knife down right now, I'll get mad." With a swift motion, Ethan sheathed the Swiss knife back into its holster at his waist. The tall, drunken man was swaying unsteadily on his feet, his face flushed with alcohol. He glanced down at me with a pitiful, almost pleading expression that melted my heart. The people around us gasped in disbelief. My eyes must be deceiving me. What kind of drama am I witnessing here? Can you two just get married already? Among the voices was Ethan's cousin Emma, who barked angrily, "Are you all insane? Stop shipping them. My brother belongs to Grace." Not listening, la la la, love or not, the body doesn't lie. You don't understand men. This is the kind of love that's etched into his very bones under the awestruck gazes of the crowd. I dragged my obedient puppy Ethan out of the banquet hall. Driving alone, I took him back to his place. My mood was inexplicably stormy. Ethan had already fallen asleep in the passenger seat. His handsome face, impossibly attractive, was practically a weapon of seduction. But was I even allowed to have such thoughts? I thought back to the story Ethan's grandfather had told me, and my nose stung with the threat of tears. This infuriating man was actually quite pitiful. His emotional wounds ran deep, and after I left, who would take care of him? If he got drunk and passed out on the street again, using a bike-sharing rack as his bed. Ugh, stop it, Lily, snap out of it. Tonight's job would be my last. I had to leave after this. Otherwise, I was afraid I'd fall for him too. Who could resist a domineering CEO who acts like a cuddly drunk puppy when he's around you? Grace, his moonlight, had returned to the country. I refused to stoop so low as to become the other woman the car pulled up in front of the villa. I yanked Ethan out of the car. He leaned his head against my shoulder like a clingy puppy, mumbling about feeling sick and wanting to throw up. Serves you right. Who told you to drink so much? In his drunken haze, Ethan mumbled, I wanted to remember. Remember what? That nightmare you wanted to forget? Aren't you afraid it'll hurt more if you remember? His eyes were rimmed red as he looked at me. I want to marry you. Cough, cough, what did you just say? I must have misheard. Definitely misheard. But Ethan wrapped his arms around me, resting his head in the crook of my neck, and softly murmured, You smell so good. I remember this scent. I won't forget. As I half dragged, half supported him into the house, I rolled my eyes at the drunkard. Thanks. Call me Scented Hillbilly next time. Why haven't you been around? I never forgot you. Are you playing reincarnation games with me? I didn't even know you before. Finally managing to get him into the bedroom, I shoved him onto the bed. But Ethan grabbed my arm, pulling me down with him. We tumbled onto the bed together. I yelled angrily, Get off me, I won't. He was truly drunk, clinging to me like a koala, burying his face in my neck and nuzzling. I could feel the dangerous heat radiating from him, his breath scalding. Hey, Ethan, calm down, look at me clearly, I'm just the maid you're paying, not your long-lost moonlight who just came back, you're not a maid. Fine, I'm your mom. Be a good boy and call me Mom. Lily, I remember your name. With that, he captured my lips, silencing me with a kiss. My brain exploded into a chaotic mess. Wait, what kind of scene is this? Ethan, let me go, MMPH. You bastard, give me back my first kiss, I wanted to cry. No matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't get him off me. This horrible man had finally crossed the line into workplace harassment. Ethan's grandfather had said someone would come to escort me away tonight. The person sent to pick me up waited downstairs for ages, but I never came down. Somehow, Grace and Emma ended up barging into the room together. Caught in the act. Emma screamed insults at me and lunged to attack, but Ethan, drunk and fiercely protective, grabbed her by the throat and nearly choked her unconscious. Grace and I worked together to pry her out of Ethan's grip. I roared, If you don't want to die, get out. Emma, now terrified, retreated with Grace. Standing at the door, Emma didn't miss the chance to hurl more abuse. You slut, and you still claim you're not the other woman? Grace, how can you put up with this? She's sleeping with your man, Grace said. Miss Lily, you have 10 minutes to get yourself ready. We'll be waiting for you in the living room. I wiped my swollen lips furiously, unable to retort for the first time. The frustration was unbearable. I wished I could kick the culprit straight into the Pacific Ocean. After splashing my face with cold water in the bathroom to calm down, I found him already fast asleep on the bed. Annoyed, I pulled the blanket over him and muttered my farewell. "Ethan, I'm leaving. From now on, we're strangers. Take care of yourself, and stop drinking when I'm not around." Ethan was dead to the world, completely unaware. This rough man, waking up tomorrow to find me gone, would he search the entire city for me? What am I even thinking? I'm just a maid. How could I possibly leave a mark in the young master's heart? Lily, you're delusional. I forced myself to stop imagining things and packed my luggage in the guest room. Only then did I realize how much I'd managed to take advantage of Ethan in the past 3 months. One suitcase wasn't nearly enough to hold everything. In the end, I dragged 3 large suitcases to the living room. Grace and Emma were already seated on the couch, waiting to show me the door. Grace no longer appeared as weak as she did when we first met. Sitting there, she held herself with poise and authority. "Miss Lily, thank you for looking after Ethan during this time. Ethan and I are getting married soon. I originally wanted to invite you to our wedding, but Grandpa said it's easy to adapt to luxury but hard to return to simplicity. He's afraid you might develop habits you can't afford, so it's better for you to leave early. It's for your own good. Everyone needs to recognize their place and status." I scoffed. "Can I go now, or are you going to keep talking nonsense?" With that, I couldn't be bothered to engage further. I walked out with my suitcases, exuding an air of nonchalance. Goodbye, so-called high society adventure. If I ever hear about Ethan again, it'll probably be news of his wedding to Grace. Months later, I learned Ethan never married Grace. After I left, the city was turned upside down. At first, Ethan only searched for me within a small area. 2 months later, he went completely off the rails. He even came to my hometown, camping out at my house and occupying my bed. My mom secretly called me, asking, "Be honest. Did you scam him out of a lot of money?" I've only ever seen men this relentless when chasing debts. He's been staying at our house every day, saying you can run, but you can't hide. Sweetheart, we can't afford to be immoral here. I was at my wit's end. Call the police, Mom grumbled. Your dad won't let me. That young man's a chess prodigy, and your dad's hooked. They play matches every night after work. Men are useless when it counts, your dad included. With New Year's around the corner, how are you even going to come home? Lily, be honest. You didn't owe him money, did you? Is it a debt of love? What a colossal misstep, truly a disaster. Why didn't I fake my own death back then? A few days later, Mom called me again, saying, "Sweetheart, I think this young man isn't too bad. How about you two give it a try? Avoiding him forever isn't a solution, you need to face the problem head on." Alarm bells rang in my mind. Mom, honestly, what did he give you? Well, nothing really, don't lie to me. You and Dad have clearly been bribed. It's only been a few days, and you're already sold out? I'm disappointed in you. Consider yourself blocked for a month. No discussion. Days passed without another phone call from Mom. After all, I'd locked her out of my messages. Then I saw a headline about Ethan's company trending online. Ethan had stripped his grandfather of all power. The media was buzzing with tales of family intrigue among the wealthy elite. An insider revealed, old Mr. Ethan, along with the family's chosen bride Grace, tried to brainwash Ethan. But Ethan, upon regaining his memories, fought back and took control. The article was vague, leaving readers desperate for more details. Curious, I reached out to Victor. What happened? Spill the details. Hey, are you there? Say something. Victor finally replied with 2 words, call me. Fine. Curiosity kills the cat. I ended up on a 1-hour call with Victor, getting the freshest gossip. Until someone burst into the room. A tall, broad figure with a strong physique and strikingly handsome face. I screamed, "You had Victor call me just to track my location?" Ethan strode over, scooped me into his arms, and carried me out. Not bad, but a little too late. For daring to leave without a word, you're now sentenced to stay by my side forever. And so, I was back in the city. Ethan locked me up in his villa, banning me from eating ice cream as a punishment. Because it was winter. I had no choice but to order an array of hot pot ingredients. As I dipped snowflake beef into the broth, I asked, "So, you're saying you were deceived by Grace and your grandfather? And the girl who didn't abandon you in a crisis and even protected you wasn't Grace, but me? But I have no memory of any of this." "Are you sure you didn't get it wrong?" Ethan rolled his eyes at me and declared with certainty, "There's no mistake. After I beat Joe in that drinking contest, he put me through 2 months of intense hypnosis therapy. I remembered everything. I even asked your parents. 10 years ago, your family went on a vacation to Charleston. They said you got lost during the trip, and they searched the entire world for you in a panic. Later, when they found you, you were burning up with fever. When you woke up, they asked you what had happened, but you couldn't remember a thing. How about letting Joe put you through deep hypnosis therapy as well?" I quickly waved my hands to refuse. If I've forgotten something, it's probably not worth remembering. I'm not about to go digging into painful memories on purpose. Although, I do recall my mom mentioning that I got lost on a childhood trip and barely made it back. Fine, let's say I really did save your life. So, what now? Are you planning to repay kindness with cruelty and keep me imprisoned by your side as your maid for life? Ethan suddenly pulled me into his arms, seating me on his lap. My cheeks flared red, and I struggled to push him away, but he wouldn't budge. "What are you doing? Stop it, don't be a pervert." Ethan ignored my protests, holding me tightly as he stared at my lips and asked, "Did you kiss me while I was drunk?" "Rubbish, you kissed me first. How was it?" "Not bad. I mean, terrible." I would never admit that I'd been secretly replaying that moment in my mind for months. Ethan grabbed my chin. "Then how about I give you something even better?" "No, don't." MMPH, this scoundrel, he's at it again. Someone save me. I'm about to lose my resolve and surrender completely. I still remember how carefree I felt the night I left Miami. But after leaving, I realized I couldn't stop thinking about him. I tried to distract myself by traveling across the Great Plains, using the nearly 100,000 I'd earned from Ethan. I explored mountains, rivers, grasslands, and ocean breezes. Even though I'd never been in love, my heart felt like it was going through a breakup. Later, my mom told me Ethan had shown up at our house looking for me. To my surprise, a tiny part of me felt smug about it. But I knew deep down that Ethan was destined to marry Moonlight. I couldn't afford to indulge in wishful thinking. Until the headlines exploded with news, Ethan had refused to marry Grace and had even clashed with his grandfather over it. At that point, I couldn't help but feel a pang of excitement. I shamelessly called Victor, Ethan's bodyguard, to ask if Ethan and Grace still had any unresolved issues. One wrong move, and I lost everything, including my heart. What should I do? Ahem. Victor barged in abruptly, rescuing me from this fiery predicament. "Ethan, sorry to interrupt. Miss Yvonne has arrived." I saw Emma walk in reluctantly and immediately pushed Ethan away. But he still held me tightly, wrapping me in his arms without letting go. His magnetic voice was full of confidence. What are you afraid of? It's not like we have anything to hide. I don't have your thick skin, okay? Why did you call her here? To humiliate me? But Emma didn't act like her usual crazy self. Instead, she approached with red-rimmed eyes and apologized to me. Lily, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have insulted you before. It was all my fault. Can you forgive me? Well, this is new. Did the sun rise in the west today? I turned to Ethan. Can I say no? Emma flinched, her tears falling pitifully. Too bad I'm not one to pity the weak. Call me ruthless, Ethan said, of course. It's up to you. Then I don't forgive her. Emma burst into hopeless sobs. Grace was sent to Africa to do charity work for 10 years. I don't want to go, Lily, please forgive me. I'll be your loyal servant for the next 10 years if you just spare me. Please, I'm begging you, all right, let me hear you say it. Woof woof woof. What? Wow, she really knows how to adapt, fine, whatever. I didn't have any deep-seated hatred toward her anyway. Every time she bullied me, I made sure to retaliate on the spot. Okay, deal. But remember, you're my servant for the next 10 years. You'll do as I say. Emma lifted her head abruptly, looking at me as if I were her savior. To this day, I still don't know her full name. Oh well, not worth asking. From now on, she's just my loyal servant. After she left, practically glowing with gratitude, Ethan gave me a meaningful smile. 10 years? What? Do you feel bad for your cousin? Ethan had a knack for catching the key points. We share the same bloodline. If she's your servant, doesn't that make me one too? Huh? Oops, did I just insult him along with her? Ethan seized the opportunity to press further. Are you saying you'll let me be your loyal servant? 10 years seems too short. How about a lifetime? This man really knows how to dish out cheesy lines, and the worst part? I'm eating it up. But there's no way I'm letting it show. I kept a straight face and sneered, oh, I wouldn't dare, Ethan. Suddenly, Ethan's expression turned serious. Not a maid. Be my queen. I've never been in love before, but I'd like to start learning now. Is it too late? His gaze was so intense, so genuine, that I couldn't bring myself to joke anymore. I thought about it seriously. The trust he shows, only letting me approach him when he's drunk, is undeniably endearing. I coughed lightly, my heart racing, feeling a little nervous. Well, it's not impossible. I'll reluctantly give you a chance. But you have to promise me, drink less in the future, and no getting drunk. If you do, I'll make you kneel on a washboard. Ethan held me in his arms, laughing softly. All right. One day later, Ethan's friend called me. Sis-in-law, quick come to Starlight Bar, Ethan's drunk again. What? Did this man treat his promise to me as just empty words? I jumped into the Maserati Ethan had bought me and raced to the bar at full speed. Looking up, I realized this was the very bar where I had first begged Ethan for help in a desperate moment. The world really is a giant circle. Back then, he had stubbornly refused to get drunk at the bar, unwilling to let his friends see him in such a state. Was he making up for it now? Rolling up my sleeves, I walked in, ready to confront him. Before I even reached the entrance, I noticed several people standing there to greet me. 3 in a row, they shouted in unison, Sis-in-law is here, sis-in-law, you're amazing, sis-in-law, please come in. I stopped in my tracks, looking at them suspiciously. What are you up to? This is so over the top. I have reasonable grounds to suspect you're plotting against me. How could we dare? You're Ethan's one and only. You have no idea how crazy Ethan went when you left him without a word. And us CP fans? We just started shipping you too, and then you went and broke us apart. Our hearts shattered. I rubbed my nose, still feeling uneasy. Something about this felt fishy. However, Ethan's group of brothers truly were our biggest CP fans. They probably wouldn't dare harm me. Feeling a mix of curiosity and determination, I stepped inside the bar. To my surprise, the normally bustling bar was relatively quiet. Ethan was sitting on the small stage near the bar, holding a guitar, strumming and singing. This didn't look like someone who was drunk. Suddenly, my heart tightened. Could this be a proposal? Oh my God, I forgot to put on makeup and I didn't even wash my hair. I wanted to turn around and disappear, but then I heard Ethan singing, "Oh baby. Thank you for being a light, a fleeting brilliance in my world. In this vast sea of people, you're the one I can't forget. On these drunken streets, you're my most beautiful encounter." Ethan sang this original love song, his eyes piercing through the crowd to land on me. The people around us started cheering and coaxing me to go up on stage. My face flushed, my ears burned, and I felt utterly embarrassed. Ethan set down the guitar, picked up a microphone, and sang as he walked toward me. Dropping to one knee, he gazed up at me with an earnest and devoted expression. He sang the final line of his song, "Oh baby. My one and only girl I trust, will you marry me?" From his pocket, he pulled out a stunning engagement ring. Our friends clapped along to a rhythm, chanting, say yes, say yes." It was cheesy and awkward, but I still couldn't help it. I burst into tears. I extended my hand toward him, letting him slide the beautiful ring onto my finger. Then he stood up, gently cupped the back of my head, and kissed me deeply. In a daze, I seemed to recall a distant memory, a bloodied teenage boy collapsing in my arms, asking for my name. I said, "My name is Lily." Like the flower that lingers in memory. The boy replied, "I'll remember it. I won't forget."